You know that specific heavy kind of silence?
Hmm.
I'm not talking about the good kind, the comfortable silence where, you're both just existing in the same space happily.
No, that's the good stuff. That's the goal, right?
Exactly. I'm talking about the deafening, pressurized silence.
Yeah.
The kind where you're sitting right next to the person you married, maybe you're even in bed together, and you realize you have absolutely nothing left to say.
It is the universal relationship nightmare. It's what psychologists sometimes call the invisible wall,
That's a good way to put it.
where physical closeness just means nothing for your emotional connection. And today, we're doing a deep dive into a short story that captures this feeling with, well, with painful and honestly pretty hilarious results.
It really is a comedy of errors, but it feels so high stakes for the characters when they're in it.
Of course.
We're looking at a story called Three is Company by Uday Mukherjee. It was published in the August 2022 issue of cc&d magazine, and it's also in the collection Into the Surf.
And our mission here isn't just to, summarize the plot.
Right. It's not a book report.
We want to unpack the mechanics of that silence. We want to look at how isolation can breed assumption and how easily we project our own insecurities onto our partners until we're having two completely different conversations.
Using the exact same words.
Exactly.
So let's set the stage, because the atmosphere the author creates does a lot of the heavy lifting.
It really does.
We're in Amsterdam, specifically the Jordan district.
Which is picture perfect, right? We're talking about a refurbished pre-war house, 4th floor, facing a canal.
It sounds idyllic.
It's the kind of place you see on Instagram and think, if I lived there, all my problems would disappear.
But inside this apartment, things are, well, they're quietly falling apart. We have our central couple, David and Kim. They're in their early 30s.
And they've just moved from Singapore about 3 months ago for David's job at a financial firm.
That timeline is interesting. 3 months.
Yeah.
That's usually still the honeymoon phase of a big move, isn't it? The let's find a cute cafe phase.
You'd think so. But the story makes it clear this move was a change of scene because they were already losing steam back in Singapore.
Ah, so they tried the geographic cure.
Which rarely works. The problems just get packed in the suitcase along with everything else.
So let's jump right into that tension, because the story opens in the bedroom. And this scene, it's so relatable it made me cringe.
Oh, yeah.
David is in bed watching a replay of a soccer game, a penalty kick. Kim is right next to him, but she's completely absorbed in her phone.
They're together, but they're in totally separate worlds.
It's parallel play for adults, but without any of the play. And this is where the catalyst for the whole story buzzes in. David gets a text message.
At night, in bed,
Mm.
next to his wife.
From a female colleague.
Oh, boy. Named Jenna.
Hmm.
And the text says, hey, what are you up to?
Now, if you just look at that text objectively,
Yeah.
is it incriminating?
What are you up to? No, it's friendly. Maybe a little late for a work thing, but it's not a smoking gun.
Exactly. But David's reaction, that's the smoking gun.
Right.
He replies, then Jenna asks where his wife is, he tells her, and then she texts, by the way, thank you for a lovely evening, I had fun.
And that is the moment David just spirals. The text describes his internal monologue just kicking in with, oh no, what was I thinking?
He gets up, goes to the washroom, splashes cold water on his face. He's asking himself, did I make a mistake? It's full-on panic mode.
But what I found so fascinating is that the author makes it clear nothing actually happened, right?
Correct. It's explicit in his thoughts. It was just a dinner with a colleague. He loves Kim. But his physical reaction, the panic, the cold water, it signals this really deep insecurity about the marriage.
He feels guilty not because he cheated, but because he's emotionally outsourcing.
That's a perfect way to put it. Emotional outsourcing.
He connected with Jenna, and he knows he hasn't connected with his wife like that in a long, long time. And the guilt from that is what's eating at him.
It's an emotional betrayal in his mind. And when he gets back to bed, that invisible wall is, fully built.
And the imagery here is crucial. David notices the residual lights from the street lamps coming through the curtains. But even with that light, he can't reach her. He's just lying there wondering, how did we get here?
And there's this extra layer of pressure, too. This isn't just a normal rough patch. There's what I'd call expat guilt.
Oh, it's massive.
David reflects on their history. Kim was his colleague. She moved apartments for him. But more importantly, she's described as this amazing independent woman who defied her parents to marry him, a non-Chinese expatriate.
So she basically burned bridges to be with him.
Yes, effectively. And she sacrificed her career in Singapore to move to Amsterdam for his job. So he's not just carrying the weight of a boring marriage. He's carrying the weight of her entire life sacrifice.
Which adds so much to the stakes. If this fails, in his mind, he's not just lost a wife, he's ruined her life.
Exactly. That's the narrative in his head. So he's stewing in this guilt. And what does he do? Does he talk to Kim?
Of course not. That would be too logical.
Right. It would make for a very short story. Instead, he goes to work and talks to Jenna.
The echo chamber begins. He's in his office late. Jenna finds him sitting in the dark, and he opens the floodgates.
He tells her everything. We lost each other somewhere. Every day is just another day.
He's verbalizing the death of his relationship to a third party before he's even really admitted it to his wife, which, ironically, probably just makes him feel closer to Jenna.
It widens the gap. But to her credit, Jenna just listens, and it forces David to act. The next morning, he tries. He asks Kim, point blank, "Are you happy?"
That is a terrifying question to ask when you're afraid of the answer.
It is. And Kim's answer is a little telling. She says, "Of course I am." But then she rushes off. A deflection.
But she agrees to dinner,
Yeah.
like the old days.
So they go to this cozy restaurant Jen recommended, Jasper's, and they actually start to communicate.
They do. Kim points out something really profound. She says, "Did you notice how we are both chatty when we are with other people, but we become silent the moment we go back home?"
That is such a harsh reality, the party couple syndrome.
Right.
Great at a dinner party, silent in the car on the way home.
Right. And then Kim drops the line that sets the entire rest of the story on fire. She says, "We can't always have another person with us at home, or can we?"
Okay, freeze frame. This is the moment.
The pivot.
This is the critical linguistic misunderstanding.
Yeah.
She says they need to spice it up because they're bored.
And David, poor panic David, hears another person and spice it up, and his brain just goes to one place.
Sex. He interprets this entirely through a sexual lens.
It's so interesting, though. She says she's bored generally, but because of his own insecurity, he hears it as she's bored sexually.
He even tries to test the waters. He suggests getting adult toys.
Which is, I mean, he's trying. He's trying to be open-minded.
He is, but Kim just shoots that down immediately. No material thing can bring any permanent happiness, and she tells him to keep thinking.
Oh, keep thinking. That is the most dangerous instruction you can give an insecure person.
He is going to overthink it into oblivion. But instead of saying, "Honey, I have no idea what you're talking about," he goes to another external source.
Enter Michael.
The bro advisor.
Every story's got to have one.
David meets Michael, his only close friend in Amsterdam. He lays it all out. He tells him Kim wants to bring another person in the mix.
And notice the difference in advice here. Jenna was empathetic. Michael is just catastrophic.
Right.
He immediately asks, "Is everything okay in the bedroom?"
Validates David's sexual interpretation instantly. And then he drops the bomb. He asks, "Is she into girls?"
And this is where confirmation bias just takes the wheel and drives the car off a cliff.
It really is, because Michael presents a theory, a threesome, and suddenly David starts hunting for evidence to support it.
And he finds it. Because you can always find evidence if you look hard enough. He remembers Kim once told him she fooled around with a girlfriend in college eons ago.
Which was probably just, youthful experimentation. But now in this context, he weaponizes it against his own peace of mind.
Right. He takes this dusty old memory and turns it into proof that his wife wants a polyamorous revelation.
He tells Michael this, and Michael's advice is, you got to be careful. Don't automatically presume she meant a girl.
Oh my God. So now David isn't just worried about a threesome.
He's worried he's going to have to sleep with another man. Michael warns him not to assume gender. David is absolutely terrified. He says, "I don't think I can go through with that."
But, and this is the tragic part, he feels like he has to.
Yeah.
He thinks this is the price he has to pay to save his marriage.
It's a perfect storm of bad communication. David relies on Jenna to understand his feelings, and he relies on Michael to interpret his wife's words. The one person he is not consulting is Kim.
Exactly. He's lost trust in his own ability to understand his wife, so he adopts Michael's lens. It's like drama bias.
What's that?
Well, friends often find the most dramatic interpretation more interesting. Your wife wants a baby is a kind of boring conversation for Michael. Your wife wants a threesome. Now, that's a puzzle he can help solve.
That's a really good point. Michael was entertained. David was being tortured.
Michael's eating popcorn. David's having a breakdown.
So we finally reach the climax. David goes home. The text says he is armed with Michael's advice, which is the worst possible weapon.
It's like bringing a water pistol to a negotiation. He feels his back is against the wall.
And Kim brings it up. She asks, "So, have you given any thought to what we discussed?"
David is just. He's resigned to his fate. He basically surrenders. He asks her, tell me if you have any choice, as in her preference for the third person.
And Kim laughs. She says, "How to choose? If you're talking about preferences, no, I have none. A boy or a girl, it's all the same to me."
Okay, now just pause there. You're in David's shoes. You are operating under the threesome hypothesis. Your wife just said she doesn't care if the third person is a man or a woman.
It confirms everything. He must be hyperventilating. He asks, "So what do we do now?" And Kim says, "We keep trying."
Trying, another one of those perfectly ambiguous words. To David, it means sexual experimentation.
To Kim, it means biology. David asks how long, and she says, "Some people are lucky they hit the jackpot fast. For others, it takes time."
Hitting the jackpot, again, ambiguous. He's probably thinking about finding the perfect third party.
And then, finally, the penny drops. Kim looks right at him, and she says, "It takes both male and female sperms to make a baby, right? I can't do it on my own."
And just like that, poof, the entire terrifying house of cards in David's head just collapses.
A baby. Another person meant a baby.
Let's trace it back. Spice it up meant changing their family dynasty.
Boy or girl was the gender of the child.
And trying meant, well, trying for a baby. Conception.
It is such a relief. David's reaction is just, it's immediate. He repeats, "Baby," and then just, "Of course, hun, I'm all in."
The tension just evaporates instantly. It's a happy ending, but wow, it really exposes how fragile their communication was.
Seriously. Think about the linguistic gymnastics David performed to convince himself his wife wanted this wild new lifestyle when all she wanted was to start a family.
It just highlights how we project meaning based on our own fears. David felt the marriage was failing, so when he heard change, he assumed desperate sexual measure.
Couldn't see the hopeful interpretation.
No, because he was stuck in a mindset of decay. He thought it was an ending. Kim thought it was a beginning.
And can we go back to Michael for a second? That guy really needs to lose his license to give advice.
I think we all have a Michael in our lives. You just have to know when to mute them.
The story ends with them all in, finally on the same page. But does a baby actually fix the invisible wall?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The title is Three is Company. On the surface, it's the parents plus the baby. But maybe the third company in their marriage was the silence itself, or the external voices, like Jenna and Michael.
Right. A baby adds a literal third person, but it doesn't automatically fix your communication skills. They could just become silent parents instead of silent partners.
Which is arguably worse. But the hope is that the project of having a baby gives them a shared language again. It forces them to talk about names and nurseries and doctors. It breaks the parallel play.
It forces them to look at each other again. It's just a powerful lesson in asking one simple, clarifying question.
What do you mean by that? That's it.
Kim, what exactly do you mean by another person? Could have saved him 48 hours of pure terror.
Exactly. The silence he felt wasn't just a lack of noise. It was a loss of the ability to decode his wife's dialect. They were both speaking English, but they were speaking completely different dialects of marriage.
It makes you think about your own conversations, you know? How often do we just assume we know what the other person means?
We fill in the blanks with our own anxieties. If you're afraid of being left, you hear, "I need space," as "I'm leaving you." If you're afraid you're not enough, like David was, you hear "spice it up" as "you're boring me."
That's a very sobering thought. We're running out of time, but this story really packs a punch.
It really does. It's a reminder that the invisible wall is built by the things we don't say and the things we assume the other person is thinking.
So here's the question we want to leave you with today. Think about the last confusing conversation you had with a partner or friend. If you stripped away the advice from your Michaels and Janice, and if you stripped away your own deepest fears, what is that person actually saying to you?
Are you having the same conversation? Or are you, like David and Kim, just using the same words to mean completely different things?
Something to chew on. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the comedy and tragedy of marital miscommunication.
We'll see you on the next one.